Lucha-Masks.com by Pro Wrestling Revolution, bringing you, in partnership with Mask Republic, the Lucha Brothers, as well as Japanese legend Ultimo Dragon. Go to Lucha-Masks.com and fight Lucha Strong with masks from your favorite Lucha legends and Pro Wrestling Revolution luchadores. Stay safe in style and represent your favorite luchador. Get yours now at Lucha-Masks.com, powered by Pro Wrestling Revolution.
You are listening to the Lucha Central Podcast Network. And now, Lucha Central Weekly.
Los cuatro rudos, ídolos de la afición, la arena estaba de voz en voz, la gente loca de la emoción, y en el ring luchaban los cuatro rudos, ídolos de la afición. El santo es cavernario, su demonio y el mundo, el santo es cavernario, su demonio y el mundo.
Hello and welcome to the Lucha Central Weekly Podcast. This is the podcast that lets you know all of the latest happening in the world of Lucha Libre. Each week, our team discusses news and events from this past week, as well as previewing the week ahead, covering Mexico-based promotions like CMLL, along with top independents, as well as luchador-related news from WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, MLW, Impact Wrestling, and more. The Lucha Central Weekly Podcast is part of the Lucha Central Podcast Network on luchacentral.com. This podcast, along with others from the Lucha Central Podcast Network, are available on luchacentral.com and all major podcast platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbay, and Speaker. My name is Miranda Morales, and I'm one of the co-hosts of the Lucha Central Weekly Podcast. And I said we, yes, there is an I in Miranda, but not in team, and this is a team effort. So let's bring in the rest of the podcast team. First, let's bring in the dashing one, Mr. Dusty Murphy.
Hey, Miranda, how's it going?
I am doing well, Dusty. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic.
Yes. How are you doing with all of this fame now that you've been featured in Thunderdome? I would have imagined that the influx of invites and requests have just flooded in.
Well, thankfully, I was under the mask, so no one knew it was me.
Oh, man. Are we going to have to change your intro to the dashing one, known for being on WWE's Thunderdome?
Yes. Well, I've been accepted for Payback, so I'll be there unmasked.
Ah, me too. So how does that even work?
We'll have to virtual high five. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. We do have a third co-host, the man of the news, really. Who are we talking about? Who? It is Brendan Barr.
Hey, how we doing?
We're doing good. I heard you were trying to chime in there. I accepted to pay back?
No, I have consistently missed out. Every time I find that the tickets are open, by the time I finish hitting the enter button, I get this event is full notification.
Well, apparently they're going to start emailing some of those people now because, like, anybody that's tied to an IP number that was disrespectful or misbehaving, they're out forever. And
yeah.
So they're going to start adding in people that signed up and didn't make it, apparently.
Well, I'll keep my eye open for that. I'm just not very optimistic that we're going to get the full trio on the same show right now. It's sad.
Well, there's still lots of shows, but we'll try and make it a goal. And, of course, WWE listens to this show, of course, because this is where they get all of their Lucha Libre news as well.
Obviously, yeah. We're the number one Lucha Libre news source in America.
Yeah, Yeah.
Oh.
Is that a fact?
Bold claim.
Self-proclaimed.
Self-proclaimed. Okay, I was gonna say. I was like, ooh,
In my heart.
we miss-
Number one in my heart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Numero uno en mi corazón.
I mean, our hosts at Lucha Central might take exception to that, seeing as we basically cite them for a lot of our information.
Yes, but we are
we're an
tied to
extension
Lucha
of
Central.
that.
Yeah, we're an extension. I believe Lucha Central for sure is the number one news source for Lucha
Easily
Libre
number
news.
one.
You know, at least top two, really, if not number one, number two. And then we are ergo an extension of that. So then we are also that. So we can defend it in a.
So we're number 1.1. We're the number 1.1 Lucha news source in America. English, all over the world, worldwide. We're number 1.1 worldwide. Forget America. Worldwide.
We were as a podcast network number one in Mexico. I remember us celebrating that.
Yes.
And I believe Norway as well, right? Like that is some reach.
We cannot forget our fans in Norway.
Thank you, fans.
Yes.
Thank you, fans. I was Guten Tag, but that's German, so I don't,
yeah.
you know.
Oh, that might be sensitive.
Yeah, that I don't know European langues really. I just know, you know, English.
Google tells me it's hello.
There we go. Hello.
Hello,
fans
Norway.
Hola to our fans in Norway. There must be some Spanish-speaking fans in Norway.
If there's Lucha fans,
there's Spanish fans.
Yeah.
Oh, well done.
Yeah.
That's a synchronicity right there.
Yeah. We are off to a hot start for the Lucha Central Weekly Podcast. And speaking of worldwide reach, we just like to give a big plug and congratulations to Masked Republic. They have announced that their Legends of Lucha Libre brand is now available at Hot Topic. They have T-shirts available exclusively at HotTopic.com. You can find classics, brand new shirts and exclusive designs, including officially licensed merchandise from Pentagon, Ray Phoenix, Psychosis, Solar, and more. So go over to HotTopic.com and search Legends of Lucha Libre, or you can check out Masked Republic or Legends of Lucha Libre on social media, and there are direct links there as well. So for all of the fans worldwide, you can go to HotTopic.com and get some awesome Lucha Libre merch.
Oh, there are some awesome shirts on there.
I got my Psychosis shirt already, and then Psychosis liked it when I mentioned that you could buy his merch on Hot Topic, and
that's so cool.
We've started exchanging jabs a little bit, so you know, me and Psychosis are like this now. Like this.
Oh, I love it.
Yes. No one can see it, but
it's because he knows. He wants to get the shine for being on the number 1.1 Lucha News show in all the world.
That's totally it. It has nothing to do with the fact that the last time I talked with him, I was the relayer of a challenge. One of our local wrestlers, Sonico, had already beaten Super Crazy in a match, and he said he wants Psychosis next. So, and I was the guy that had to deliver the message. So,
so cool.
Don't Shoot the Messenger had a real big context that day, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, it was fun. It was definitely fun. I'm not going to name names on that one, but that's why I'm positive Psychosis and I are like this, because he totally wants to kick my ass.
Well, look, we're all cool here too, but I mean, literally, if you had to deliver the message, he just, it's his business. Really, it's his business. I see his point of view. I'm just saying.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I bought the shirt. Next time I can wear the shirt, and he won't murder me, hopefully.
Right? He probably will be less likely to kick you out. I mean, there's no guarantees in life, but the percentages go way down. Oh, man. Well, we, of course, we got a lot of Lucha Libre content to go over. Lots of news. This weekend in the world of wrestling was insane. Period. Like, I mean,
it was.
News that last week was a lot. The events happened. Things have happened. Things are happening right now as we are recording this show.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
So, as we record this on a Thursday right now, AEW Dynamite is on television as part of their scheduling changes. So we'll be trying to give you as much up-to-date information on that as possible. And throughout the show, we're covering what happened at SummerSlam, NXT TakeOver. Of course, we have your news happening in Mexico, and of our interview with Mr. Iguana dropping during this episode as well. We hope you enjoyed part 1, getting to learn more about the AAA Superestrella, the Green One himself, Mr. Iguana. Lots of great stories and insight from him. You get more during this week's episode, and it's again, a lot of fun. So make sure you
that was
stay
such
tuned.
A treat.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we had to split it into 2 parts, because of the fact that we talked so much.
It really was.
And mini spoiler about that, we talked for an extra hour afterwards. Just on everything else.
Yeah.
It's true. All of it is true. He's a lot of fun to talk to.
Oh my gosh, I hope that
everybody hears that interview and understands just how much fun he is to talk to.
Yeah, you can't undersell that enough. He was really incredible, and he's so charming and so funny and so witty, and like he's brilliant. His wrestling is incredible, but his charm and charisma is something else. That's off the charts.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He gets it. He gets modern wrestling and bringing it to lucha libre.
He does.
Which in and of itself is very creative. I mean, we've talked about this before, about character development in lucha libre. In some ways, it has evolved beyond U.S. wrestling, and it has been for many years. But he's really taking it to a new level and been a type of luchador where both kids and adults can like him and appreciate him. And that's hard to do. Very hard to do, I think.
It's very hard, and he does it just perfectly. And he's the master of subtlety in what he does. Yeah. That's his one of his truest gifts.
I am amused by that, because not only is it true, but also this is the person who does antics where the puppet will sorry, not the puppet, the lizard.
Yeska.
We'll do over-the-top comedy spots, and you call him a master of subtlety. So,
yeah, but like a lucha fighter, he can't.
I mean, I would say that he's subtle. La Yeska's a little all over the place. Look, I mean,
that's brilliant about it.
That's fair.
And La Yeska came out with the mask on when he had La Yeska in his mouth. Since he couldn't wear a mask, she did. I thought that was brilliant. Like just the subtlety and all of it is so good.
Yeah. So everyone, make sure you stay tuned later on during this episode, part 2 of our interview with AAA superstar Mr. Iguana. But we got some news to cover, a lot of it actually. So let's get rolling on the road back to shows.
Hotcha, road back to shows. So would any of you care to guess what status Mexico City is still in?
Orange.
Yeah, I was going to say the same one has been for quite a while.
Yeah, I even gave that nice subtle hint there of still. Mexico is still orange, and good God, we're still going to have fans at shows. I actually don't anticipate it going to yellow in the next evaluation. So we're probably going to be hearing this headline for a little bit. But I guess it's good news. We'll have fans at shows. So there we go. We'll have that stuff that still has not. We have not determined how that's going to affect anything that AAA has done or will be doing. Triple Mania should have had some announcements by now, but hasn't. So their silence is kind of telling to me. But we will see where we're going with there. In other kind of prep news for Road Back to Shows. People are taking advantage of this time to realign how their oversight is going and where money is coming and going from. So Tijuana has proposed that they have a separate commission now from the boxing commission. They had a small meeting about it. It's nothing really has come other than talk at this point. This is kind of a thing here in Washington. We had to deal with. I can tell you a lot about the problems of being in the same oversight area as boxing inside the United States. Is that there's a lot of emphasis on spending money for safety in ways that don't apply in wrestling or lucha. Like you don't have to have an aid car and 3 people on site here and pay for all of them to be on site at the event the whole time. It's still a good idea to have medical personnel, but it's never something like you need to have that kind of money to have people shipped off right away. So hopefully that means that Tijuana can start doing a lot more regular shows if they don't have to have kind of that over the top. I don't want to use the word real because that implies that lucha is fake, but combat sports have a very different sort of need. Like if somebody gets a broken leg or suffers a concussion, which is something that happens in lucha very easily too. But it's much more. There's much more need for that at a show where you have less control over what's going to happen. Somebody's going to in a cage fight is probably going to get hurt in a way that you can't anticipate and that sort of thing. So that was when I read that, it was very exciting. We recently had our anniversary up here of the wrestling bill that got through and allowed us to have a little less oversight. So the timing on it was kind of neat for me. In other news, for COVID preparedness, we had rumors swirling around Ultimo Guerrero this last week, including me misunderstanding one of the shows that he was going to be on. So Ultimo Guerrero was scheduled to do a number of indie dates. He has been pulled from most of the indie dates, if not all of them. There was a lot of headline to that effect. There's speculation back and forth in lots of ways. I know we were talking about this, like maybe it's related to CMLL being uncomfortable with him working shows because of COVID issues. Maybe it goes to their normal issues where sometimes there's somebody on a show they don't want CMLL people to be on the same card with. That's a fairly well documented thing. But it feels more like with them building up to their IA pay-per-views, which are coming up this next month, and the anniversary show, which is at the end of the month, that it's probably more related to that, and they want to make sure that they have a healthy, fresh, and not really overly exposed Ultimo Guerrero to really kind of push things along and draw eyes to them. Which brings me to the iPay-per-views. As I mentioned last week, they're going to be on the Ticketmaster service. They're still only live, no video on demand. This is the time right now, and the links are up on Lucha Central to get there if you don't know where else to go. But they are voting for challengers for 4 or 5 different titles. That are going to be on the anniversary show. So I did my voting today. We were a little short on time, so I'm not going to go over all of the possible candidates, but they have 2 different trios matches, 2 different ladies matches, and a tag match. So yeah, 5. It's lots of opportunity to try and see your favorites in there. Get out there and vote. Like I say, the link's on Lucha Central. If you don't know how to get to the CMLL home site in English, you have to use a little bit of Google Foo to do that. If you don't speak very good Spanish, or Miranda might be able to help you if you are really nice on Instagram.
Yes. I'll consider it. I also take bribes. And you can also buy me T-shirts from Legends of Lucha Libre on HotTopic.com, all acceptable forms of payment.
So that's what I got for the quick road back to shows. We are going to have a lot more on that CMLL story next week, but we are, with so much stuff going on, it felt like it was a better idea to talk about it in one bigger sitting as opposed to hinting at it and then going over it again next week.
All right. Well, and, speaking of all of the rest of the news that we have, we do have some news on the Indie Roundup, so you know what that means.
So I did a lot more digging. I really need to get a hold of my guy at Lucha Time. I did a lot more digging. I watched a couple of YouTube videos. They kept giving them bigger numbers, but it felt like I was watching the same three matches: the Azrael, Saizo, Principe de Oro trio or three-way match, Baby Extreme versus the Tiger, Alex Black, Redemundo, Chavez Boy versus Mafioso Bamba and Granda. For the refresher on that, Azrael wins the trios, Baby Extreme wins against Tiger, and the Mafioso Bamba Granda team wins with explosions. And those three. So I'm not sure. There's another Lucha Time event somewhere out there that I am missing, and I apologize, fans. I did spend a lot of time trying to find it, but it feels like the same event. So I'm not sure what I need to do, but hopefully we will have some firm, real Lucha Time news for you soon. That is what I had for the match I watched, the card that I watched 3 times under different video names. Also this week, we had IWRG release their Rey del Ring Day 2 from the Arena Nalcapan. Starting off, you had Freelance against Chicanito in a singles match. Freelance won that. Your second match, Puma de Oro and Flystar. Puma de Oro won that. Your third match, Dragon Bane and Lunatic Extreme, and Dragon Bane won that. And then in the main event, which was a really exciting Rumble, but it did have some technical issues because if you were paying attention, some people were defeated without actually being on camera, but you had Hijo de Canis Lupus winning the Rumble match itself. And also involved in that was Trauma 1, Death Metal, Chavin, Capo del Norte, Official AK-47, Herodes Jr., Hijo del Pirata Morgan, Heidi Karui, Alasta Oro, Lolita, Septimo Dragon, Ludark Shaitan, Diosa Quetzal. So you had, this is one of my favorite parts about this. You had legit intergender wrestling going on in the middle of this, and the distinct possibility that like Ludark Shaitan or Diosa Quetzal, who are both Nova hot right now, winning this whole thing. They were both near the end. Unfortunately, they were the ones that I didn't see get eliminated, so I don't know what happened. But congratulations to Hijo de Canis Lupus. And it was a fun match. It's up on YouTube. Definitely go check it out. I believe we have a direct link to it on Lucha Central because that's where I watched it the first time, was through the Lucha Central YouTube channel. And that is what I have for the Indie Roundup right now. There's plenty of stuff. I just had to make a few. We will have lots more in the Indie Roundup because there's lots of events that have happened just now or happened over the weekend, this massive weekend that I wanted to give more time to next week when we have a little more time.
everyone, it's Denise Salcedo here in Lucha Central with a reminder of where and when to catch all of the great network content this week. Get the full lineup and listen to all of our shows in the podcast network section of luchacentral.com. Monday, Lucha Libre Figures and Facts returns with a brand new episode focused on the legendary LA Park, the original La Parka, and Jeffrey and Eric look at his 1994 Killian action figure. Plus, get updates on the Boss Fight Studio Legends of Lucha Libre action figures and collectibles coming soon. Find the video version of each episode on the Lucha Central YouTube page at luchacentral.com or listen on your favorite podcast platform. Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, there will be a special Tuesday night edition of Photo Versus as photographers Jerry Villagrana and Alfredo Alvarado go mano a mano with their photos of Ultimo Ninja, who's better known these days as WWE's Humberto Garza, and the superstar himself will be joining the show. You don't want to miss this Tuesday at facebook.com/luchacentral. On Tuesdays, Mass Mats and Mayhem takes you inside the world of Lucha Underground as they take you weekly through the series with the benefit of hindsight and the benefit of special guests from the groundbreaking series. Check out the premiere video stream every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on the Lucha Central YouTube channel and at luchacentral.com. Then listen to it on your favorite podcast platform every Wednesday. Tuesday nights live, it's WrestleBoss, where Fabi Chulo talks MMA and pro wrestling with special guests and listener call-ins. Visit WrestleBossLive.com Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific to listen live or call in with questions or download the show on podcast platforms on Wednesdays. Wednesday nights live on Facebook, it's Spanish show La Mesa de los Márgaros, giving you both the news and the chisme from around the lucha world. Special guests and a whole lot of fun make it one of the most talked about shows in Mexico. Thursdays, it's Straight Out of the Bodega with Papo Esco and PWR promoter Gabriel Ramirez, as they have guests from throughout the wrestling world pull up to give an inside look into their careers. From indie standouts to television superstars, each week brings a new name and perspective. On Friday, it's your double dose of Lucha Central Weekly podcast, one in English y el otro en español. Lucha Central Weekly is where you'll find all the top stories of the week, both inside and out of the ring from Mexico and anywhere luchadores are in action across the globe. Be sure to subscribe and follow all your favorite Lucha Central Network series on your favorite podcast platforms, either by their own series name or subscribe to the Lucha Central Podcast Network show pages to get all of the shows in one easy feed. And please consider giving a rating to help more fans find the shows that you love. For now, this is Denise Salcedo signing off from Lucha Central. Have a great week.
Big thanks to Denise Salcedo with the Lucha Central. And now we have WWE. As we told you last week, we previewed and we set up a lot of lucha-related matches and other lucha-related happenings within WWE SummerSlam weekend. So let's get to it. And if you remember, we said last week WWE was largely treading water to get us to SummerSlam, and we thought things were changing, maybe going to see some new champions, some new matchups. But if that's what you were expecting, we have a disappointing SummerSlam for you Lucha fans this week. Our first Lucha action of the night came courtesy of Angel and Andrade versus Street Profits. On a side note, I really wish the Zelina Angel Andrade faction had a name, but that's regardless. We had Kevin Owens on commentary. WWE worked really hard to give it a big match feel, only for Angel and Andrade to lose. And next up, we had our Luchas de Apuestas match between Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville that had been changed to a career versus career loser leaves town match, rather than the hair versus hair match that we had been building to all this time. It's been reported that the finish was changed due to personal issues going on for Sonya, and I'm fine with that, but the match did feel weird as a result. There was a lot of early action, but later on, there's just a lot of, the psychology never made sense. There was a table that came out, but never got used. That's just bad storytelling. just a lot of elements of other weird storytelling for a finish. Mandy won, but it felt very strange. Then we had, like my most awaited match, I'm sure a lot of other people's too, the Dominic Mysterio versus Seth Rollins match. We've talked a lot before about how a luchador's look and presentation really can affect your opinion and how they seem to be a bigger deal or not quite as big deal, but everybody really knocked it out of the park with their gear for this match. Seth wore gear inspired by Ray's Phantom suit that he wore against Eddie Guerrero at Halloween Havoc in 1997, and Dominic had an amazing vest with a hood with the Mysterio Falcons and a tights combo that harkened back to Nightwing from the Batman comics. Everybody really looked amazing. The match itself was fantastic. I was a little unhappy with it at first, but when I watched it the second time to take some notes, the psychology in the ring actually kind of worked for me. Dominic was never shown to be better or stronger than Seth, and although I wanted him to get that revenge, it actually just makes sense that he wouldn't be in his first match ever. So despite all of us wanting Dominic to win, Seth pulled off the win by curb stomping him in front of a handcuffed Rey Mysterio. That was actually a great visual and one hell of a Rudo move from Seth. Yeah. And Seth has said several times in interviews that their feud is meant to be long-form storytelling. And so I'm actually at my most excited in this story now to see where it goes, because it's the kind of thing that we haven't seen in wrestling in a long time, and I really enjoyed it. What did you guys think of SummerSlam? Brendan, what were your thoughts on SummerSlam?
Much like you, because kilter or not really, this really was the one that had. And I agree that Dom looked great. I really liked that they did this. They did a very smart thing with that, is that they played all of the booking or all of the framing of it played to ever put him in a situation where he was doing what he shouldn't have been doing. So he got to look strong through the whole thing, even though, to your point, he never should have looked strong, and I think they did that.
Yeah, I think they did a great job of that.
The story of SummerSlam missed opportunity. Like, you had the tag match was just they did something else. Even if they wanted to keep the belt out, they could have Zelina's faction, whatever we want to start. They could say a kind of a reversal of fortunes. Sort of, maybe. I mean, nobody wants to see a DQ loss at SummerSlam. Like, have them cheat to win and barely pull out instead of what we got, which just really felt like never were supposed to first. And same thing, like the line there was great. It was really into. But then it felt weird because they were there for a hot second. It was into place, and then they just let it drop again. I was kind of disappointed with that.
Yeah.
That poor table.
I have to admit, when Seth came out in that Rey-inspired gear, like, my eyes just, like, popped out of my head. It was
me too.
So good, and I think that's
so cool.
why
so
there's elements of the match that felt really, really good and had a really high marks, and there was others that, because the expectations were set fairly high, kind of fell maybe a little flat. But even just the history too. I mean, Rey wore that inspired outfit or that purple Phantom suit when he wrestled Eddie Guerrero, who also has a history with the family at SummerSlam. So, like, there was really a lot of subtlety. And I'm surprised they didn't mention anything about that in commentary. Like, they put it on social media, but commentary said nothing about it. And I
noticed
surprised
that. I was so surprised too. Yeah.
Because again, it's another dig at it, and so I don't know if they just don't acknowledge those things on commentary. They just keep everything very surface level. But I agree with the way Dominic was presented, that he wasn't ever looked at as someone who was stronger or faster, but he was someone who is, a third-generation wrestler, someone who's dealt with a lot with what Seth has put his family through, and just someone with a lot of heart. And I think that came through. I wasn't a big fan of the distractions with, Ray's wife and Dominic's mom coming out to lead the distraction for Ray to get kind of caught up with Seth, and the fact that she kind of just lingered at the top, like you could see cameras there still lingering. That was kind of that was something that just kind of bothered me, that took away from the match.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, it was, but overall,
it broke my suspension of disbelief. Yeah,
exactly. It's like, okay, she's out here, and I get it. I mean, like, what they did at the beginning with Ray explaining to her, like, you know what, I told him I wouldn't interfere. Like, if there was even more expression on her face to be like, I can't watch this, I would have believed it. But her face was like cold, like nothing. So that was very confusing. I do also have to admit that I was surprised that Angel and Andrade lost. I thought that this was going to be the culmination of,
I did too.
Weeks and weeks of story. And the fact that they lost it threw me off guard. So unless we're getting something at Payback, like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Please tell me, because I'm honestly 100% lost. What are we doing here?
Oh, so that's my position.
It based on Rapid Raw, so we will get to that. It just feels like they're doing a circular thing with them. Like, will you guys try a little bit? I'm gonna change one with else, and this is unfortunately what seems to happen with a lot of luchadors that with another to be to that standard of Eddie Guerrero. I'm optimistic. I'm choosing to be optimistic that they're going to go a direction with that at some point. But right now, it just feels like a holding pattern for the guys that are on the main roster.
It does. And then we get to Monday Night Raw, live from the WWE Thunderdome. And this was the night that really proved a lot of the potential issues with the Thunderdome. But we also got a fairly good match between Montez Ford and Angel Garza. Yeah, I mean, it's still going on, but whatever. Bachelor Demi was ringside in the Yoko seat, and Ivar came out, and again, he snatched her fickle attention with nothing but a turkey leg. And that scene was what derailed Angel's momentum and lets Montez Ford get the win with the prettiest rotated frog splash in all of wrestling. Then later on in the night, we had a tag match between Rey Mysterio and Dominic against Murphy and Seth. This was a great match, and you could tell Rey was loving it. He just really liked being in a match and in the ring with the Sun. But then Retribution appeared, and they, disrupted the match. It was, a disqualification then, and that was, the match. And also we had SmackDown. Can't forget SmackDown. There was a SmackDown Tag Team title match between the tag division of Lucha House Party against Cesaro and Nakamura. And unfortunately, despite a great showing, Lucha House Party lost this week. And after the loss, Lince blew up at Kalisto. So things may be changing for these luchadors. Between Kalisto's new look and Lince and Grandma League's really cohesive and dynamic tag team, I don't think either one necessarily needs the other one. And so I think Kalisto might be ready to do his own thing while Grand Metalik and Lince Dorado do their thing. Yeah. So what did you guys think of the...
A little twist. So I was hoping... Again, this is my fan book. That was what I with him. Actually, a lot who failed of SmackDown. I used to say this, and I'm sorry.
And how Thunderdome. What did you guys think about the Thunderdome? Miranda?
Yeah, well, I think it's an interesting element. And we talked about this in a different conversation about how visually it's pretty cool, but audio-wise, WWE seems to be playing whatever they want to play. It doesn't seem like the audio is connected to the audience in the Thunderdome. They are chiming in whatever they want, and we saw that in SummerSlam and on Raw, as far as, cheer for the faces and boo for the heels, that they designate.
Exactly.
So that, too, I mean, it isn't that surprising in some ways, because that's what they're known for. Audio manipulation is something that they've been doing for a long time, and I wasn't surprised that was part of the Thunderdome. So, but I do think that, and I don't know, this was for SmackDown, but a lot of the panning of shots as well was very fast, and it kind of just, it was a blur sometimes of how quickly they moved from one camera angle to another. I felt like it slowed down a bit this week for SummerSlam, and even portions of Raw, but and I don't know, maybe it was just also some of the action in the ring. It was pretty fast paced, and so they kept moving, back and forth. But if that's a contribution of the Thunderdome, and just this new visual, just slowing down the camera angles a little bit would be appreciated on my poor little head.
Yeah, I can totally agree with that. They really zipped through, and I mean, I could see myself at SummerSlam, but I couldn't. I mean, there was really no time to focus on anybody at SmackDown. It just went very quickly.
Well, yeah, some of that is because they're afraid of people doing the kind of things that the Thunderdome got in the news for this week. So there's for those of you that don't know, we don't need to go into too much detail. You can figure out pretty easily. The internet did internet things because they were allowed unlimited access to be on television. So.
Yes. So you can see it on social media. If you haven't seen pictures of different things that people put up or did in the Thunderdome, you should just you could go on to Twitter or Instagram or even Facebook and scroll through, and you'll be able to see some of the photos of some people what they did as far as display pictures or messages during the Thunderdome. So
it was really, shame on those guys. It was the Thunderdome could be awesome. Come on, guys, let's elevate it, make it better.
Yeah.
By wearing our Kalisto mask.
Yes. Or Lince Dorado.
Well, we saw a little bit of WWE news left later on in the show, but next, I mean, we didn't have our typical Wednesday Night Wars this past week because AEW Dynamite was on Saturday around the same time as NXT TakeOver, and boy, did we get some cool things happen on that. Plus, we had some great matches on Dark. Dusty, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, so we had on Dynamite, Saturday Night Dynamite, we had the Natural Nightmares and Jurassic Express versus Lucha Brothers and the Butcher and the Blade. This match started immediately with all the teams hitting each other before they could even get the match announced. It was crazy. It was insane. Dustin Rhodes hit Phoenix with a Canadian Destroyer, if that gives you any idea how crazy this match was. Then at the end, Pentagon and Butcher got to fighting with each other kind of over who was going to, get the win and the finisher. And Jungle Boy took advantage of the moment and won. After the match, Eddie Kingston came out and said, we're all kind of the kings of indies. We need to work together. We're the guys. We can't be fighting amongst ourselves. And now they're kind of their own faction. So that's interesting with Eddie Kingston at the helm. And he is a great microphone man, and so he is going to really add a lot to that pairing because they really needed somebody on the microphone that could step up and be their talker.
Well,
and,
yeah. I felt like they set something up with that too, because at the end of that, Eddie gave a little bit of a sly wink to the camera, so I feel like
you knew.
there's a little extra going on there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also in this episode, we had the AEW Women's Tag Team Cup Tournament Final.
Yes.
Ivelisse and Diamante versus the Nightmare Sisters, Brandy Rhodes and Allie. This was such a good match. Diamante and Ivelisse looked so dominant. They worked great together. Ivelisse threw some of the meanest elbows I've ever seen in wrestling. Diamante had a tornado suplex. It was incredible. It was really a tour de force for both of these two women. And then after they win, they beat Brandy Rhodes. They do the impossible. After they win, they get a trophy and flowers, and they trash the flowers at Medusa's feet and grab their flags. And this is such good stuff. It's exciting stuff for both them and for us as fans. I was really excited.
I was
with this pairing and with the win, and it was what I wanted, but you never always get. I mean, you never really get what you want in wrestling, but this time I did. It was so perfect. I mean, truly perfect.
It was definitely slow clapping in my house by myself, just because it was the right decision. And we've talked about this for weeks now, really. I mean, you have the experienced veterans, and even though they weren't, Brandy and Allie, even though they've been a team for a while, they weren't super cohesive. But you could argue that they had a little bit more cohesion than Ivelisse and Diamante. But you had a lot of similarities between them, not only culturally, but just in wrestling style and training and experience, that this pairing made so much sense. So I'm glad it really did feel like the right decision as far as putting them over. Now the big question is, what's next? What is next for them? How do they build them up? Or what do they do with them next? But I thought it was a great match. We did talk about it last week too, about there was some comedy elements in the match, more on the shenanigans side of Brandy and Allie. That's been very normal for typical of their matches, but it didn't get too overwhelming in the match.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I appreciated that they didn't go too comedy. And some of their distractions did end up impacting the match towards the end, but felicidades, congratulations.
Yes, big congratulations.
Yes.
I said on social media, several places, I think even here on this show, that I would flip a table. So I want everyone to know I had a table set up.
He was ready to flip it. He was ready to flip it, AEW, but he didn't. So good for you.
You gave me the result I wanted, but I'm not going to be one of those internet people that's going to say something and then not do it. So I had the table ready to flip, but thank goodness I didn't have to do it. Because my neighbors would have been upset. Oh, keep going.
We also had Dark this week. It was another really long episode, nearly 2 hours long, but it was excellent throughout. And we also had some amazing lucha action woven in throughout the episode. The Initiative versus Luther and Serpentico. Talk about a long episode. This was a match that went way too long for my tastes. After rushing the bell and immediately beating down the Initiative, there really wasn't anything that happened in the next 10 minutes that was noteworthy before the finish. As much as I love Serpentico, this just wasn't a great match for anybody involved, but at least Serpentico and Luther picked up a much-needed win on Dark.
They are now 2-0 as a tag team. They're on the border of the rankings at this point.
Yeah, they're climbing up. And we had Proud and Powerful versus Coney Island's the Metro Bros. I loved the commentary selling how tough and like over the line Proud and Powerful are before the match even started. Like they really put them over as being, dangerous and very tough competitors. And they dominated the Metro Boys the entire match. It was like a cat playing with a mouse.
Yeah.
And then they got the win, only for Best Friends to run in, trying to settle those bleach clothes and Sue's van. They were mad about all of that. So they had a fight going. But Proud and Powerful actually got the upper hand at the end. Ortiz had an amazing suplex on Chuck Taylor onto a trash can. It was an amazing post-match fight, and it sets up more of their Dynamite feud, helps advance that story. I loved every second of this. The whole thing was amazing. And then in the main event, we had the Hybrid 2 versus Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. TH2 are, I believe, based on last week's graphic, 3-1, but they didn't give them a match graphic this week, so I'm 100% on that. But this was a match I was really looking forward to. The athleticism of everybody involved, especially Jack Evans, Sonny Kiss, made this a must-watch match for me. Evans helped his team pick up the win after hitting a really beautiful backside bridge to get the pin on Sonny Kiss. I mean, you have to see it to understand it. It's incredible. And it picked up a surprising win, TH2.
Just real quick for you, Angelico is listed as 3-3 for his tag team record now.
Excellent. Good to know.
That's what I'm here for, right?
Manly playing, yes indeed.
Yeah, this week's episode of Thursday Night Dynamite was not available for review before we started recording this episode of our podcast, but AEW announced an 8-man tag match with Lucha Bros and Butcher and Blade, with, of course, Eddie Kingston as their group leader versus Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss teaming with Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. And then they also announced Matt Hardy versus Sammy in a tables match. There's some very exciting matches coming up that we will have reviewed for you next week.
Yeah, that's the AEW's first tables match on television. They may have done them on some house shows or something, but they're advertising as their first televised tables match. So it's history making and also super exciting.
Yes.
Well, speaking of history making, I'm sure we were going to get to it, but I just can't contain my excitement over something that did happen on this Saturday's edition of Dynamite, something that we had teased possibly last week as far as rumors and speculations, but the Rosa showed up. She showed up.
Yes. How could I forget?
She showed up to challenge Hikaru Shida at All Out for the AEW's Women's Championship.
So good.
Such a good promo, good visual. This is exactly what I think that the women's division needs right now. A very credible challenger for Hikaru Shida. Very credible. I mean, she is still the reigning NWA Women's champion. Has wrestled all over the world. Truly, could have Hikaru Shida's card at any time. And Rosa's just coming in 100% fierce. Just really going at it. So I'm just thrilled.
I'm so excited.
It is bringing in kind of quote unquote an outsider, but I mean, really, what's the harm? In that, and AEW seems to have a good relationship with the NWA. There's a lot of the people in the company.
It's my understanding that Billy Corgan is going to accompany her to her contract signing on Thursday Night Dynamite.
Very, very possible. Yeah. So before we started recording, there was a little bit of AEW that was on, and they were running a promo piece for this, and they were showing NWA footage while talking about Thunder Rosa. So they very definitely have signed off on this. And what makes that extra cool is to Miranda's point, this adds a big match feel to it. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
not just we're going to throw a monster at Cheetah and let her and have the story be how is this tiny person going to win. This is champion versus champion, company versus company on a pay-per-view. Like it's a huge match with a huge match feel, and I love it.
Yeah. I'm thrilled for Thunder Rosa to have this platform because, you know, she's very well known on the independent scene, and even though she's wrestled all over the world, she's primarily based in Texas. So maybe there's parts of the U.S. that haven't seen her yet, but they will during All Out. And again, this is really good for the women's division. Hopefully it lights a fire under this division and gets some momentum and gets some storytelling. And who knows if this is a longer story that they could tell or a one-off, but they're also giving it time to flourish and time to build this story. And I think it's a wonderful thing. So, I mean, it's really a dream match in 2020. You know, we're not getting a whole lot of them, even though there's so many crazy things happening this year. This is truly a dream match. And the fact that it's in the AEW women's division, I'm applauding them for that. They still have a long ways to go. They still have a long ways to go. We'll talk about NXT. NXT, for me, personally has the best women's division in all of pro wrestling. So you got to wait to go. However, you're taking good steps.
Yeah, absolutely. Great steps. Like all the potential. There's for the first time, it looks like you could reach the height that NXT is at with their women's division. So very exciting.
Yeah, I agree.
Indeed. And, of course, these results for both AEW Dark and Dynamite are available on LuchaCentral.com. The results for Thursday night's episode will be available, so even though we weren't able to talk about it, you can still get your results on LuchaCentral.com. And speaking of NXT, we also had a wild weekend in NXT with TakeOver and this week's NXT that happened on Wednesday. I'm going to go with the big story first, because it's hard not to talk about it. It definitely has a ripple effect. The main event of NXT TakeOver was Keith Lee versus Karrion Kross. This match had a really great start to me with Keith Lee being super aggressive, super quick. I mean, they've had such a strong build-up to this. And really, I mean, it could have gone either way. I think Keith Lee, his reign was still very young and early, but they literally, a lot of the imagery, the music, a lot of what they built around TakeOver 30 was built around Karrion Kross. So it made absolute sense when the bell rang and the match was done, Karrion Kross was your new NXT champion. It was a slower match, I think, than what most NXT fans are used to. When you've had champions like Johnny Gargano and Finn Balor, even Samoa Joe and Tommaso Ciampa, you get a lot of fast-paced matches. This was a lot more drawn out. So I know there was some back and forth on because I was on wrestling Twitter for a little bit. I was for slightly a few minutes.
I saw that. Yes.
I got off, but there was a lot of back and forth on that. However, shortly after the match, WWE announced Karrion Kross had suffered a shoulder injury. At that point he was going to go through an MRI, and we would know later on more in the week. And the first segment of NXT this week was Karrion Kross coming to the ring, announcing that he was relinquishing the NXT championship, that his injury was severe. We don't know any details as far as what exactly the injury was. It was speculated that it was a separated shoulder. However, we don't know what the time frame is as far as how long it's going to take to recover, if he's going to need surgery, any of that. So that was, that's a big, my heart hurts for someone who's worked so incredibly hard and someone who has had such a force in NXT in the short amount of time. They really shot him up straight to the top to win the NXT championship, and to have to relinquish it after a short amount of time. It's tough. 2020 sucks, y'all. this year.
True.
Just
They were
put
very
the blame
effective
in
with
ear.
the imagery of it, though, where they put the hourglass in the ring and the
Yeah.
TikTok. Like, I loved that on his exit. But it was
Yeah.
very sad.
I agree.
I take some comfort in knowing that he is the kind of guy that's not going to let that be the end of it. So
No.
he will be back, and we've seen what he's capable of and the heights he can reach. So I know that he'll be right back in the main event picture as soon as he comes back.
Yeah. There are some silver linings to this one. He wasn't with NXT very long. So fans, of course, did not get tired of him or bored, or his story was still very fresh and new. So they could easily bring him back when he recovers, and it will be just as new as when he came along. He has a very strong visual, as Dusty had mentioned, very strong persona. So that translates so well on TV, and that imagery that I think that fans are going to quickly reconnect. And even his character, started off as more of a heel because of, going against Keith Lee, but he could easily come back, maybe not as a face, but he could go up against a heel in any program and still be received really well. So there's so many facets to him that I think when he does come back, he'll be easily be able to slot into the title picture. Just because it was still so fresh and new and it's NXT. There's been a lot of comparisons against what happened with him and Finn Balor when Finn had to vacate the title, the Universal Championship. But that is Monday Night Raw. That is something completely different. NXT seems to be in its own bubble still. So, and we saw that too, even with Tommaso Ciampa. Tommaso had to vacate his championship, and he was able to come back and still have some great matches as well. So I think there's still plenty of time for carrying. But it's still, it sucks. It still sucks.
Absolutely.
And hope he has
I'm just
a
trying
very
As the resident Twitter dweller, I have to force myself to be the positive person. So that's where I'm trying.
Well, now, real quick, we do have a Fatal 4-Way Iron Man match that's going to be happening next week to determine the new NXT champion, Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa versus Finn Balor versus Adam Cole. That's going to be, insane.
Yeah.
Going back to TakeOver, during the pre-show match, speaking of disappointing Lucha Libre tag matches, WWE went 2 for 2. Well, actually, this was the first one. The other, anyways. The point is, we had a triple threat tag team match to determine the number one contenders for the NXT tag team titles. Legado del Fantasma was involved with Joaquin Wilde and Joaquin
Mendoza.
Raul Mendoza.
Raul Mendoza, yes. They were involved in that, along with Breezango was also involved. And Breezango won, surprisingly. I have to admit, I was surprised. Breezango won. And that turned into a actual NXT title match against Imperium on this week's episode of NXT, and they won. So your new NXT champions are Breezango. However, this could actually be a good thing for Legado del Fantasma, because we have seen Breezango and Legado del Fantasma interacting and fighting each other over the past few weeks. So if anyone has a straight line to the new tag champions, that's Raul and Joaquin. So I'm as Brendan would say, being the resident optimist, I'm being optimistic that this is all being done so Legado del Fantasma could become tag team champions, and all the gold is with Legado.
That's what I want, but I'm working very hard to be optimistic on this one.
Yeah.
But
speaking of gold, Santos Escobar successfully defended his cruiserweight championship in a match against Isaiah. Easily the match of the night as far as between them.
Great match.
Santos was doing a lot of this. Towards the end of the match, Raul Martin did show up, cause a little bit of a distraction. It didn't do the job, though. Luchador that Santos had put it on and did a headbutt, tope, as we would say in it, to Isaiah Scott, knocking him out and winning the match. So there's lots of theories that there's some lead in there. Kind of that lucha mask.
Yeah,
I heard it on Twitter. It's all heritage, culture, and legacy that's in that mask. That's all that's in there.
Oh. It looked like a blackjack to me. I must have been mistaken.
Who knows?
That may fall under heritage or culture or legacy, but that's what was in there. That's what totally what was in there.
That's, I'm sure, what they'll claim was all part of the mask, But hey, it's an interesting utilization of mask in this case, because that's one of the pillars of this group, is that they're not hiding behind masks anymore. Mm-hmm. So the fact that could be a tool for them, I'm very interested to see how that plays out. And again, Breezango came out during the match to confront Joaquin and Raul. So again, I think that there's a bigger plan for them. I'm being optimistic in this. There's a bigger plan for the tag titles, and hopefully that goes through Legado de Fantasma. And with the best division, women's division in all of wrestling, I'm just putting it out there. I believe it. NXT, Dakota Kai faced Io Shirai for the NXT Women's Championship, with Dakota Kai was being accompanied by Raquel Gonzalez. Yes. And, Raquel did her job as an enforcer. She even got involved a little bit in the match to try and help Dakota Kai. However, Io Shirai is just too damn good, and Io retained. However, at the end of the match, Raquel was not having it. So she was trying to attack Io, and all of a sudden we had Rhea Ripley come out. And having that standoff between Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez, thumbs up for me.
I had shivers in that moment. That moment just had me.
I know. I watched that until I saw it, and then I was like, okay now. Okay. All right, NXT. I believe you. I mean, very similar statures and height, both powerhouses. I mean, so much they could tell in this story. And it went on into NXT as far as this week's episode. We had a tag match, Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai versus Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley. The big surprise here was Raquel pinned Rhea. That's a huge, probably the biggest, pin for Raquel's career in NXT. The former NXT Women's Champion. So it looks like they are moving full steam ahead with Raquel and Rhea, at least for the immediate future. Brendan, let us have it. Tell us your thoughts.
I mean, everybody at this point knows that I've been the Raquel fan for a while, and our notes like this had Raquel is back with an exclamation point on it. Like, everything about this is great, because not only is it a good story like you were talking about, where you've got these two big, powerful women that are going to be feuding, but it's elevating Raquel's brand. She is about to have that breakout moment where she's not just the bodyguard anymore. She's going to be a force in the women's division, just to quote you, the best division. We're gonna it's putting someone who I have seen all of the earmarkings of greatness on over the last couple of years up to that point, and hopefully she takes that opportunity and goes with it, is a really exciting thing for me. Like, I will be there watching that match as soon as we get it announced. I will be setting aside time to make sure I'm right there watching on either on the computer, or if there's tickets, I might even go fly out of Florida and COVID Central and be a match, because that's going to be something else. And so again, I want to remind people this is a second generation luchador, lucha talent. She's got all kinds of untapped skills that we haven't seen on TV and in this brand yet. And we've seen Rhea is a person that can bring that out in people. So you look for big things to come out of this match.
Dusty, what are your thoughts on everything that happened in NXT this past week?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was so much. My personal favorite part was that Shotzi Blackheart ran over Robert Stone with the tank.
Yes.
Like, I will never get sick of seeing him get run over with that tank.
I know. And Shotzi's wonderful. A quick mention, we didn't have enough time to cover everyone. I know Mercedes Martinez was also on this week's episode. Shotzi Blackheart got a good win over Mia Yim as well. So it seems like they may be setting her up for a future title shot. And I mean, Shotzi is someone with charisma, attitude, fun, and yeah, I will never not laugh at her running over Robert Stone.
It's amazing. Like, he's perfect for that.
We got to see a little of Shotzi's charisma away from the ring this last week too. I'm assuming you saw it on Instagram as well. But the whole, there was an ordeal that I'm referencing for those of you that don't know, that where she had her car stolen, including her gear. And there's a wonderful moment that fortunately one of her friends was able to record for her, where she went out to the scene where her car was at, and her helmet, which she was going crazy over, happened to be in the car. And at this point is being memed as find a better love story than Shotzi and her helmet. So
It's a true love story. We don't get lots of happy endings in wrestling. I'm glad we have one.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But yes, NXT next week will be on Tuesday, so I'm still trying to sort out how all of these schedule changes are happening, but we will have those results with us next week, and of course, they are available on luchacentral.com. Now, we head to this part of the show, one that we talked about earlier, and us as a team are very excited for all of you to listen to. It is part 2 of our interview with AAA superstar Mr. Iguana. Last week, he got to share with us some of his insights in Lucha Libre, also talking about wrestling for AAA and, his social media presence and how he navigates through that. This week, he has some more stories to share, more great insights from him. This overall is probably one of our favorite interviews that we've done as a team, even though we're still very young at this. Easily one of our favorite interviews. So go ahead and listen to part 2 of our interview with Mr. Iguana.
I've also really been loving recently your Consejos Verdes videos on YouTube. Will you and Yeska be making any future videos? Like, is there anything that you can kind of give us a hint about that we'll be seeing in the future?
I started doing the videos like for giving like children, like a parody of children advice, with the pup. Because I felt like
I love them.
People. I've seen another wrestlers and another guys doing content in this pandemic, and they're like too, it's very obligated, they do it because they don't have nothing, but it's not funny or so. I'm like, okay, I'm doing these videos too, but as horrible as them, but bad edition and things. So yes, because I will not make the HD videos that they make, like, I don't know, with GoPro and stuff. Nah. Try to do children advice, try to do some positive advices, like for a content of our family, like personal defense and nutrition, vegetable diets that I'm following, like my lifestyle, but the things that I would like people to do. I won't put a shirt that says, hey, it's 100% big in a AAA show, but I can do a a video like explaining kids this is like eating plants, eating food, or I can explain kids personal defense with the Yesca, trying to do that part, to make content to people and learn something. Not only like, hey, watch my video, it's me doing stuff. No, it's watch the video of this guy doing like a tutorial.
Yeah, I actually had my wife watch your personal defense video. It was really informative.
You enjoy your wife
I
doing
really
you
enjoyed that one. Yeah, yeah, she was really wrenching my arm there, but I was glad.
I think
she
it's
was
very
learning,
important,
so.
and mostly in this time that there are a lot of this year is crazy, and with all the feminist protests in all the world, but they need to defense. They need to have self-defense. More women and children too. I specify in the video that this technique can be used by kids for defense and for bullying in the schools. I've been learning. I've been teaching before having my lucha career. This backed up like 2 years ago. I teach kids in a gym to self-defense classes for kids anti-bullying, for jiu-jitsu and Krav Maga for them, because
so cool.
it's amazing how they get bullied and they don't know how to fight. They don't know how to control a situation. So maybe in the street, they have this situation, a guy that wants to do something. You'll be amazed how a kid, 7-year-old kid can choke you out. Amazing. But it's something they have to learn. I mean, instead of having a weapon, instead of, of doing violence, he can choke out a kid, or he can choke out a guy that wants to attack him or wants to adopt him. While the same as women, if they have an attacker, well, they can control him in a bar, they can control him in the streets, instead of doing some harm. Because, doing harm, you get in legal issues and stuff. So better to control people. And that's when I say in the video, it's better to be a warrior in a land of flowers than being a florist in a land of war.
Yes. Agree. And it's very it's empowering. What you're teaching is not just what to do when you're in trouble. It's empowering people to feel comfortable with their strength and that they have power within themselves to take care of themselves in a situation like that.
I have a philosophy that
self-confidence.
It's because I became sick of the influencers from my country. Well, also all the world, but in my city, in my country, there's like these kids with a lot of money doing a lot of with a lot of views, something like Kardashians in the United States. So these guys are called influencers, but it's guys that have a lot of fans, but they don't do nothing, just having money. So I always thought that this world needs more heroes and less idols, because an idol is a guy you can like, but he doesn't do nothing by being an idol. But a hero is the guy that changes the world. So I always tell people, I prefer to be a hero, or be the guy that always suffer, than be some kind of Fugazi idol.
That's great. I really like that that line in particular, about needing heroes and not idols. It's a great way to encapsulate that whole philosophy. I really like that. So you were teaching self-defense before. You've been doing video content now, and you mentioned your training issues that were happening early in this. What have you been doing during the COVID-19 to work, to either train or do something new and different with yourself? Is it just the video content? Is there something that you've been doing at home, or are you training in new and different ways?
Well, I'm in training, and right now I'm in Mazatlan, and it's a beach side. It's a beach city, and I lived in Culiacan. But in Culiacan, I was when I was working on a radio station before signing with AAA. But I already quit the job because, well, AAA it's paying me
right.
it's paying all the wrestlers in this pandemic. So they're taking care of us. So every month they give us a help. They call it help, like an allowance every month. So I've been surviving with that. I've been surviving with my saved money, with my merch, with my shirts, my dolls and stuff. And also, well, that's in the economic part. And then when I moved here to Mazatlan, because there's a beach, so I can train in the beach, because in Culiacan there's no gyms open. There's like
right
a lot of Culiacan is a very hot city, like I don't know how much Fahrenheit, but there's like 40 degrees Celsius, so it's very hot and it's very uncomfortable to work out there in the free air, because you can't work in gyms. So I moved to Mazatlan and I work out here in the beach. I do jiu-jitsu drills. I do weightlifting with some sea rocks. I doing some like animal training, like the caveman training also, because I like this. I think this is the best the best conditioning you have. The best gym is the sea. It's the outlands. Because before, how people train, there were no gyms, there was no weightlifting, there was no protein, there was no nothing like that.
Right.
You have to train with everything it's in there, the nature. So I want to see guys trying to do cardio in the beach, running in the sand, 4 kilometers, like they run in the street. They won't get like 2 kilometers, blown up.
Yeah.
So that's my gym. It's the sea. So I'm becoming like training most of time, being fit, because lucha, I can train lucha with guys. I got on my notebook and start watching my old videos of lucha. I see a lot of Skydy work, a lot of
nice.
Aaron Navarro work, a lot of comedy wrestling work. I've been looking a lot of Orange Cassidy work in AEW, and most of that I have to put attention of that, because that comedy wrestling and mixture of wrestling, it's my style, you can say it. That's the things I have to do, not the same thing, but just the same context. So I have my homework at school.
Yes.
That's my homework.
Yes, and it's very popular now, comedy, but I think you made such a good point about taking influence from other people and making it your own. And I think that goes back to what we talked about with your originality and how popular you've become, because you are truly like no one else that we see in lucha libre or in wrestling in general, both on the American and Mexican side. You talked earlier too about your influence with young kids, and recently you had reposted a picture of a young boy who had his birthday themed after Mr. Iguana. Are you surprised at all with your strong fan base with kids?
Yes, a lot. I didn't expect to see a piñata of me. I thought that day will come. That day will come with a protest or something like that, but never with.
Never full of candy and for good reasons.
No, I mean how like that. Like Will Ferrell say, that escalated quickly. I don't. I didn't imagine that so quickly. So, but well, part of it is that the character is very can get easily with the kids, because kids love like super characters or funny characters. They're not like that same mask guy or the same guy with a black thing and with a cool name. Now they look at the guy with a puppet and the green face, and I think also my decision of not wearing mask and not having hair will make this like more dynamic position, because not having hair was a decision of mine. Well, I'm part bald now, but when I started Yeah, you feel me. But when I started
Me
wrestling,
too. I feel
I
you.
have very long hair. There's pictures of me in my Instagram. You can watch. I have very long hair, and I like. I bet my hair in a mask versus hair match, but they didn't did the match. The match didn't. They canceled the show. I don't know why, but I never lost my hair to anybody or won a mask. So I start to say, I'm tired of it. I'm sick of this. I wanna get my hair out, and my character will be like, he has no hair, he has no mask. What he has to bet, that's the thing that makes me even more bright, because like,
you can never lose.
no, I mean, he will never lose nothing. He will never bet nothing. But if you bet something, well, this is my opinion. Most of this opinion is very, how you say, controversial with a lot of wrestlers, but this is my opinion. Once you get bet your hair or your mask in a hair versus hair, mask versus mask, you know somebody's gonna lose. So when they put in the rivalry, it's very predictable. Not who's winning or who's losing, but someone who lose, someone will be the someone will be the better than the other. And sometimes the guy that wins is not better than the other guy. I mean, the other guy is more talented, but he loses because there's another factor. So I never wanted that to be a reason to measure my talent. Like, oh, he's losing his hair every time. He must be bad. Or he's losing his mask, he's very bad. No. I want to people measure my talent not because of hair or my mask. People will know my talent because I'm not in those matches, because I'm wrestling other guys. And most of wrestlers have this, with all the respect, that stupid stupid thought that I'm better than anybody. I'm better than everybody else. I came to this business to be better. That for me, not for me. I'm not coming to this business to be better than everybody else. I come to this business to make a different character. I came to this business to give people a character they haven't seen, a character that they won't know what he's going to do, a character that will be in the main event one day, another in the first match, then in the second. Sometimes he's wrestling, sometimes he's grabbing an iguana puppet, sometimes he's under the ring, sometimes he's kissing Nayera. I know. It has to be unpredictable. Lucha Libre has to be unpredictable, not scripted, not obligated rivalries. That's the reason I decided to use either mask or either hair, and wanted to have an audience with the people, with the kids, because kids are unpredictable. We're like, he's gonna lose, or he's gonna. No, kids are naive, but kids know how this works. The kids are the ones that give us they give us the audience. The kids are the most part of it. And if you understand kids thinking, if you understand what they want to see, what they want to cheer, you gotta get the kids smiling, and for per se, all the dad, the mom, the brothers, everybody in the family is smiling. So there's no boring, there's no bad times. Understand the kids, you understand the business.
I like that. That's such a good philosophy.
I do too. That's so cool. I noticed on your website recently that maybe, also for
Jessica
the kids, that Yescas are coming for sale. Was that?
Aww.
Felicidades.
Gracias. I'm doing a video.
So
I was thinking right now that once I get the Yescas, I will do a video of Yesca reading an email of her lover in the United States. Like, do you remember me? Do you remember me? I had 5 of them in my home without food, so I sent them to you. And Jessica was like, no, I have 5 babies. That's like the teaser. And do I do another video like, if you want to adopt it, Jessica, you have to call 111-680. And I will sell the Yescas with a. It's the same Yesca, exactly the same Yesca. I will put them like a ribbon, color ribbon to look cute in the head, and then I give them a personalized letter by handwritten by Jessica, like, Dear John, thank you for adopting my son, my daughter.
I love it.
I can't afford them. Thank you. Please watch her. She's a part of her family. All that, all this procedure, all this, but it looks crazy, but people love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that would be so sweet. Estoy llorando. I'm crying already. Such a touching story.
Yes, I love that.
Poor Yeska. Well, that's because she's from Los Angeles, so she's gringa. And when she moves to Mexico, well, she never got back with her lover.
Oh, that's so sad.
Well, Mr. Iguana, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for joining us on the Lucha Central Weekly podcast. Speaking of all of your social media and where people can find you, you do have a website, pongaseverde.com. That is PONGASEVERDE.com. What kind of content do you have on your website?
Well, I have mostly all of my head content there, but in different menus. One menu is the blog of Don Verde, blog of Mr. Green. You can watch some of my latest videos of YouTube there. I have right now an article of MMA and Lucha Libre mix. I have another menu that's called Recién Horneado. That's my Spotify podcast. You can hear it there. It's more for adults only. And I have my merchandise at the time. I will post it there. So if you want a merchandise, they can send me a mail or they can contact me on my other social networks. My social networks are easy. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they all Mr. Iguana, Mr.Iguana. But how I say here in Mexico, it's like the word marijuana without the A. That you got the name. That's the reason you're green.
Yep. Hey, we said it's not easy being green, but you make it look good, senor. So,
not easy being green.
But again, yes, you can follow Mr. Iguana on social media. You can check out his work on pongaseverde.com. Especially the podcast is very great. I listened to the episode of you sharing some of your favorite metal songs.
Yes. Last year, yes. It was my high school songs and I remember that times. Because you want to grow and you don't listen anymore your high school songs. You're like, I can't believe I heard that shit. But
I know.
but now it's a different world. There's no guilty pleasures. Everybody listen Snoop Dogg and then listen J Balvin and that stuff. So
right. Music has changed so much.
Yeah,
yes, a lot of great content. Your merchandise is also on your website. Great social media following, great stories and videos. And again, thank you so much for your time. We are really looking forward to seeing you back in the ring, hopefully very soon with AAA. But who knows? It sounds like we never know where we're going to see Mr. Iguana next.
Of course, Auto Luchas is coming, so maybe you can see me inside the car running against the Rudo or in the ring.
Yeah.
In the ring wrestling.
Absolutely.
But yep.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to see you at Expo Lucha next year too. I'm already making plans to go. So.
I'm hoping to go in because Expo Lucha it's great. I was amazed by the last Expo Lucha that was going to be in the Philly arena, in the ECW arena.
Yeah.
I was very amazed when I see that. That will be a dream come true because the one night stand pay-per-view that was 2005 or something like that. Was one I love that place. I say
yeah,
that kind of place are great.
Yeah, it's a great place. My understanding is they're going to try to have it there again next year, so you may still get your opportunity, and I really hope to see you there.
Well, that will be Conan's decision, hopefully. Hopefully.
Okay. Well, it remains to be seen. So, we are going to continue on with the rest of the show, but again, don't forget to check out Mr. Iguana on social media and pongaseverde.com.
Thank you.
All right, and that does it for part 2 of our interview with Mr. Iguana. I know he mentioned it at the end, but I'm just going to reiterate where you can find him. Of course, he is at Mr. Iguana on Facebook and Twitter. He is Mr. Iguana on Instagram. And, of course, you could check out his website that includes his blog and his podcast at pongaseverde.com. That is PONGASEVERDE.com. And once again, a very big thank you to Mr. Iguana for taking the time to speak with myself, Brendan, and Dusty. Guys, any final thoughts on the interview with Mr. Iguana?
Oh, I think that the sky's the limit for Mr. Iguana, and I can't wait to see what he does in both CZW here in the States and AAA. I hope that this being his first English language interview, it really opens a lot of doors for him and helps people recognize his unique charm and charisma that just can't be contained.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really good stuff. We mentioned it at the end of the interview. He did do that Expo Lucha that Masked Republic has put on the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. He's had a couple of really good matches out of that. So on the Lucha Central, go check out those matches as well, because he's doing a kind of his traditional lucha in front of an American crowd, so you can get a really different perspective for the character than maybe you've seen in other matches.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
All right. So speaking of Lucha Central, if you're listening to this and you haven't visited luchacentral.com, it's time to do it. LuchaCentral.com is the online home for Lucha Libre, where you can get all of the top news in English and in Spanish. Find the best curated video content and original content not seen anywhere else. Find when Lucha Libre events would be happening in your area. Find photo galleries from top photographers covering Lucha Libre around the world. A place to have your voices heard, from weekly polls to annual awards, seen and read by top executives in all of the major Lucha Libre promotions across the globe. On top of all of this, it's a free service. It's free. LuchaCentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre.
And another thing that you can find on LuchaCentral.com, of course, is this day in Lucha Libre history. And, well, that means we got to get into one of our signature segments this week in Lucha Libre history.
That's right. Now it's time for This Week in Lucha Libre History. Be sure to check in at luchacentral.com every single day for This Day in Lucha Libre by Pep Carrera. For information, birth dates, anniversaries, matches of the day, and amazing videos all about Lucha Libre. luchacentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre. This week I chose August the 27th, 1989, Blue Demon versus El Matematico. I actually didn't realize it when I chose this match, but this is the original Blue Demon Senior, not Junior, and he looks amazing in this match, even though he's 66 years old. And this was for the now defunct UWA Wrestling. And this was actually a very technical match and had a very big match feel and was fantastic. If you were expecting flips or maybe modern Lucha Libre, you may be disappointed. But if you love some old school heavyweight lucha, you need to check this match out. They both moved like guys in their 30s, and this style that they wrestled definitely helped with that. They both looked incredible, but despite getting the first fall, Matematico lost his mask in the third fall to Blue Demon. And this was really the last big hurrah for UWA, Blue Demon Senior, and Matematico. So it's an important match historically in Lucha Libre to check out. And if you're watching the match and wishing you had a Blue Demon or maybe a Matematico face mask, be sure to check out lucha-mask.com, where you can find Blue Demon, Io del Santo, the Park family, and more, including Matematico, coming soon. That's lucha-masks.com. What did you pick this week, Brendan?
Well, first off, I want to comment on the Lucha Masks thing. I believe that by the time your ears are hearing us talking about it, they will have a bunch of new product. There's an announcement for Friday releases, so that Mathematical may be in there. I also chose August 27th, 1978, though. This is also about the UWA World Championship. This was Kanek winning the UW World Championship for the first time in his career after beating Luthez. So this is kind of a follow-up to my from last week, where I commented on Luthez being the first UWA championship. Of course, people who have paid attention will know that I talk about Kanek a lot. He was kind of a legendary grappler and muscle man with the rare acclaim of being able to, one of the 7 people that was able to slam Andre the Giant during that period of time where that was an untold feat of strength. So this promises to have been more of a grappler's fantasy match, really, with the two of them going against each other. Luthez is a bit of a brawler, but was famous grappler. Kanek is a strong man, but is also a very good grappler. And this is that UWA belt that has so much heritage and is still being worn around today because it's so well respected, even though you will probably not ever see it defended again. So yeah, that's what I had. I had a lot of fun researching this one. Miranda, speaking of research, what did you come up with?
Yes, I always have to research my matches. But this one, I like to be educated, and this one I picked August 26, 2016, so a little bit more of a recent match. And really this headline caught me because in some ways I've kind of forgotten his time in AAA, but Johnny Mundo winning the AAA Latin American Championship belt after beating Pentagon Jr. At Triple Mania. And this match in general was a lot of fun to watch. I mean, Johnny Mundo is just so skilled, and he just is so talented. And this was really at the height of him in the independent scene. I mean, to the point where he ended up doing a lot more in AAA after this. But I know right now most people are more familiar with his work in WWE, and he's been joined back to WWE for quite a while. But the chemistry he had with Pentagon Jr. in this match was fantastic. And he was playing a heel. He had recently adopted a, pro-USA attitude, which, of course, in American wrestling is great. People chime in all the time. But in Mexico, not so much. Also, an interesting aspect of this match was that when Pentagon Jr. came to the ring, he was accompanied by Taya, because at one point they were all part of the same faction. However,
the Perros.
Yes, Los Perros, and Taya did a fun promo in Spanish before the match as well, and that was really funny, pretty much calling Johnny a pendejo, which is, hilarious. But, Taya's involvement at the end of the match ended up costing Pentagon the Latin American Championship, and she aligned with Johnny Mundo. So the fact that was, part of the beginning of their alliance was part of that match was a fairly big deal. And overall, Johnny would have that belt being his first championship in AAA, and also being the first non-Mexican to hold the Latin American Championship. He held on to that belt through 2017. He actually then was part of a triple championship match in March of 2017, defeating Tejano Jr. and Hijo de Fantasma to win the Mega Championship and the Cruiserweight Championship. So at one point he had all three belts. And I think that was just, knowing his athleticism and talent and having that long of a reign, and having three titles with that, is a sign that, it's interesting when you see someone in a different context, i.e., say WWE. That's how we knew him. That's how a lot of us became familiar with him. He did his rounds in other promotions, including Lucha Underground and Impact and AAA. And now he's back at WWE, and you think, well, yes, that means we get to see him in a different light. And part of that time in the independence is, helps him grow. But it's always going to be WWE, and so I think there's always going to be an aspect of that where it's limiting, where you're not going to see him in the same scale as you did on the Independents. But if you want to see a really great Johnny Mundo match that highlights him as far as his character, but also his wrestling, this is a great match for that.
Oh yeah, at that time as the major heel, he was by far the biggest, most hated man in AAA at that point. It was really
That's super
really
true.
fun.
Well, let us know your thoughts on what was your favorite days in Lucha Libre history. You can go to luchacentral.com/history and feel free to share it on social media. Let us know, what your favorite days are this week. And, of course, those that do have match links are available on Lucha Central's YouTube page as well. So if you want to see some of the matches, some of them are available through the Lucha Central YouTube page. Some of them are not. If you find them, let us know as well, because there are sometimes matches that we want to watch that we can't locate. So we always appreciate insight from listeners as to where we can find them. Right. Now we have a quick commercial from one of our partners, thechairshot.com.
Why should you visit thechairshot.com? Thechairshot.com is your home for hard-hitting reviews, news, opinion, and analysis with attitude. Why? Because you're smarter than the average fan. Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
Well,
as we head into the last leg of the show, we have some news from a promotion we haven't talked about in quite a while, Ring of Honor. Brendan, can you let us know what's happening with them?
Well, as we've talked about through the rest of the show, because we had so much going on, I'm going to just real quick. They have begun taping, or they're about to begin taping very, very soon. And there's going to be a pure tournament that is going to be going on, whether that's part of the first wave of tapings or is going to be other things we don't have a lot of details on yet. But by next week, we should have a whole stacked amount of information on both when and where the tapings are happening and all of the people involved in this pure grappling tournament, which, by the way, super exciting because Grappling Rules is one of you haven't heard me talking about it yet, or the way that I was nerding out with Vinny in one of our earlier interviews. Grappling is one of my favorite parts of Lucha Libre, and so this tournament is going to be something that I'm going to be watching personally, and then I will be pitching every week. Like, can we talk more about it? Can we talk more about it? What about this guy? Can we talk about this guy? So hopefully, if we talk about it, I'll have won out a little bit. But the bosses tell me what I get to talk about. By bosses, I mean the time clock.
Yes. No, it's very exciting for Ring of Honor. I mean, they've been one of the promotions here in the U.S. that have really completely shut down since March. They canceled their big shows in Vegas in March. I remember I was supposed to be there and was supposed to watch, and they canceled them. But the fact that they've been taking all of these precautions is a true feather in their cap. And, now that they are, moving forward with tapings, they'll be able to see what everyone else has done, take the precautions necessary. And, I mean, Ring of Honor is known for, their wrestling. And going back to that element, going back to what they're good at, this could be a great time for that because, the wrestling game has changed so much. And yes, there's always competition. You still have AEW and NXT and, of course, what you see on Raw and SmackDown. But this could be an opportunity for Ring of Honor to go back to its roots, to go back to what it's known for, good-ass wrestling.
And there's actually a big need for that. I'm not going to downplay what other people are doing, but there's not a company that is other than maybe NXT that is really specializing in strong, good matches every week.
That's super true.
So they absolutely could earn a really good niche audience right back by putting that there.
And we will be reporting more on this as the weeks come ahead and as more information becomes available. We will also let you know as soon as it's out there when Ring of Honor episodes will be available.
I will be all over it, folks. Don't worry.
Yes.
Don't worry. And in our final news story of this week, we always try and end something lighthearted and fun. And what's more fun than love? The big news story this week was Tessa Blanchard and Daga got married. They got engaged, I believe, late last year, and or even maybe longer than that. But they finally got married, and we know because many of their friends and family members posted on social media, including some of your favorite luchadores and luchadoras. One of them being Taya Valkyrie was in attendance and took a lovely picture of them as they kissed at the altar. And many wrestlers from Impact were also there, which for some people, they probably felt was surprising after the way that Tessa ended terms with the company. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that she had any ill will towards these people. I mean, they all made the effort to go to her wedding, and so that, is a good sign that she had a lot of friends and close people to her. Melissa Santos posted on her social media a picture of her and a few other well-known wrestlers like Gail Kim, Jordan Grace, Kiera Hogan, Alicia Edwards, Moose, and Diamante.
Yeah, Diamante.
Yeah.
Brian Cage.
Brian Cage was there.
Obviously, if Melissa was there.
Yeah.
Yes. They had some pictures on her social media of them together, a lovely pair. Of course, her father, Tully Blanchard, was there. So, it seemed like just a wonderful wedding, a wonderful time. It's hard right now when there's so much going on to celebrate something wonderful, but, big congratulations to Tessa and Daga for their nuptials. I mean, they are a lovely couple, a wonderful team as well. I've seen them tag team in person, and they really are a wonderful couple and great wrestlers. So I hope that chemistry and success leads them to a long and happy life.
I just want to say, in addition to the big congratulations, all of the pictures of the two of them together, they are absurdly cute together. Like, oh my
gosh, yeah, you can tell they really love each other. Like, just the way they look at each other is,
And I mean, they were both well dressed and looking very, very good. But I mean, gosh, every time I looked at one of the pictures, I was like, oh. So, congratulations, you guys. Yeah.
It's big, and of course, we've seen them in AAA. And so they're still, Daga's still very active in wrestling in Mexico as far as, the shows that are running. Tessa, we still are not sure about her current status, but it does always seem like she'll have a place to wrestle in Mexico, which has seemingly been great for her career. So, there's still a lot to be seen with the two of them as far as their careers go. But again, it's just great to see so many people, too, from the wrestling community having fun, enjoying themselves, and celebrating just something great. So, if you feel bummed out, go ahead and check it out. There's some, again, lots of people have posted on social media. And, why not? So many people's weddings and classes, graduations and things have gotten canceled because of the COVID situation. So they definitely got lucky that they were able to have something together where they could celebrate with friends and family.
Yeah, congratulations to them.
Yes, felicidades.
Yay.
Yes. So we've made it to the end of another edition of the Lucha Central Weekly Podcast. Make sure you check out luchacentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre. You can also follow Lucha Central on social media at Lucha Central on Facebook and Instagram, and at Lucha Central.com on Twitter. Of course, there is their YouTube page, and you can find lots of great matches and interviews. I believe Denise Salcedo's interviews are getting posted there, and she is just having a lot of fantastic interviews several times a month. So she's just so bubbly and friendly, and her interviews just always are really fun for me to watch personally. So I highly recommend them. But lots of great content. And, of course, on luchacentral.com, you can find a lot of the other podcasts from the Lucha Central Podcast Network. We have so many fantastic podcasts that are available on all different areas of Lucha Libre, on masks, specifically on Lucha Underground, on photos, on branding, on literally there's a podcast for you related to everything on Lucha Libre. So make sure you go to luchacentral.com to check out the Lucha Central Podcast Network. And, of course, you can follow us on social media if you would like. Dusty, let us know, or the listeners really, know where they can find you on social media.
I'm on Instagram at Dusty Murphy, and I'm on Facebook at facebook.com/Dusty Murphy. I'm the only Dusty Murphy wearing a Caristico mask on Facebook, so you know it's me.
As seen in Thunderdome.
As seen in Thunderdome, yes.
Yes, as seen in Thunderdome.
And Brendan, where can our listeners find you?
I am 321 T-shirt guy. I am on both Instagram and Twitter, but man, do I not do the Instagram well. So please look for me on Twitter if you can. I did get a message from Emmett, but I haven't even been on Instagram long enough to read it yet. So I know I got something. I'm sorry, Emmett, but I'll read it later.
Oh, yes. And myself, Miranda Morales, you can find me at the #Miranda on Instagram and Facebook, # spelled out. We'd love to hear from all of you, so feel free to message us. Let us know your thoughts on the show. Give us any recommendations on topics we could cover in the future. Also, we would love it if you would, when you are checking us out on your favorite podcast platform, go ahead and subscribe, rate, and review. That way you can get reminders as to when Lucha Central Weekly Podcast drops and the other podcasts on the Lucha Central Podcast Network. You can rate us, let us know how we're doing, and then leave a review as to things about our show that you like or maybe you don't like, but we would really just like for you to put the things that you like because we would like that.
# positive.
Yes, hashtag all the likes. # keep it positive. But, I mean, yeah, this week was a lot. So we thank you all for listening. Thank you all for continuing to join us. We absolutely love getting to do this with you every week. And we'll do it again next week. So make sure you stay tuned to luchacentral.com for all things Lucha Libre. And enjoy your week. We'll be back next week.